Hello, Morongo Basin and listeners around the world online at Z107.7fm.com. Here is the Z107.7 local news for Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. Speed limits shift dramatically along 29 Palms Highway as drivers approach Joshua Tree, and not all drivers are mindful of these changes. On a recent episode of the Z107.7 Up Close show, host Gary Daigneault spoke with Michael Radford and Jake Griffith of the California Highway Patrol. They discussed why the speed limit changes and the importance of enforcing that speed limit.
Because it is the law. You have to drive at a speed that's safe for conditions.
It's just common sense.
Absolutely.
Then we've got that funny little 45-mile-per-hour stretch just as you're getting past the cemetery in Joshua Tree. I know the locals slow down, but the tourists sure don't.
Right.
And I often see units parked over there.
There's a lot of tickets being written in that area.
Yeah.
I can tell you that with certainty.
If there wasn't Joshua Tree right there, east of that location, the speed limit wouldn't be 45 there. But you can't just have traffic go from 55 to 40.
You got to slow them down.
Right, or 60. It used to be 60 there,
65.
I think, or 65 there, yeah.
And they dropped it to 55.
So you got to gradually slow traffic down, and it's just not a big enough distance.
You can hear their full conversation by listening to the Z107.7 Up Close show as a podcast at our website, Z107.7fm.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. Last night, the 29 Palms City Council unanimously approved the temporary funding of a free food distribution program in the city. Reporter Heather Clisby was there and brings us this report.
As cold winds blew outside the chambers last night, the 29 Palms City Council agreed to temporarily fund a food distribution program in the city that feeds 500 to 800 people per month. Every Tuesday evening at 5 p.m., Feed the Need volunteers give food to anyone in need, a service that has been provided to the community for over 14 years at the Sanctuary Church. City Manager Stone James noted that $47,000 had been tagged for a general resource center and portable showers, neither of which has yet come to pass, that could be tapped in this case. Council approved a temporary monthly funding of $2,000 until June. Following a recommendation from the City Council's subcommittee, consisting of council members Octavia Scott and April Ramirez, Council officially reappointed Leslie Pahana and Jim Cruchat to the Planning Commission. There was a total of 7 applicants, but none were deemed as qualified as those reappointed. One of the applicants, Carlos Blandon, protested the appointments at the podium, suggesting favoritism, deadline confusion, and suggested the implementation of term limits. Scott then noted that the commission has welcomed 2 new members in the last 2 years and that a certain preservation of consistency had to be maintained. Ramirez assured Blandon that the appointments were not personal and entirely merit-based.
I'm the newest council member here, and so when you said that these are our friends, I just wanted to put for the record, while Commissioner Cruchat did apply for it, and he was previously, I still stand by my decision to reappoint him as he was the most qualified. We just came out of pretty tough election season, and we were running against each other, and I can assure you that we are not friends, but he was picked and chosen because he is the most qualified.
Reporting for Z107.7, I'm Heather Clisby.
The Yucca Valley Planning Commission moved to modernize 2 commercial spaces within the town. Here's reporter Adeline J. Wells with that and more from last night's meeting.
The Yucca Valley Planning Commission meeting began with a request to move an item from the consent agenda to department reports. The commission then formally reviewed the exterior color change application for the Spark by Hilton Hotel, formerly the Sure Stay by Best Western. At the meeting on January 28th, the commission voted to continue the item as the geometric design on 2 sides of the building did not fit within the commercial design guidelines. The corporation revised the design with a slightly altered color palette that fits within the guidelines. The commission approved the altered color palette, allowing the corporation to move forward with improvements, as noted by Commissioner Stoker.
We look at businesses that care about how their building is perceived. There's some businesses we could look at that haven't painted their building in 50 years. Here's someone that wants to do something, albeit a little bit different than what we're used to seeing. It's at least an improvement over tired. It's at least fresh.
The Commission then reviewed a second exterior color change application for the commercial space formerly occupied by Aaron's Appliance and Furniture Rental. The applicant requests to extend the existing parapet on the site and remove 2 decorative tower features. The Commission also approved this application, and Vice Chair Vasconcelos celebrated the revitalization of vacant space.
When I see this, I'm really excited about these older shopping centers bringing new life to them. I mean, this shopping center was dead for years and years, and now the shopping center is actually becoming very popular again. Lots being filled up. Hopefully, with this type of action and bringing more tenants into places like this, they can look at other shopping centers that we have that are old and decide to try to maybe upgrade those to attract more tenants to that.
Town staff presented the land development update. Notably, Walmart has formally submitted a conditional use permit to add a convenience store and fuel station on their property. Staff then noted that the California Fish and Game hearing for review of the Western Joshua Tree Conservation Plan is scheduled for today. The public comment period for the item has been limited to 60 minutes, with priority given to elected officials and Native American tribes. Reporting for Z107.7, this is Adeline J. Wells.
Today, the California Fish and Game Commission will meet to discuss the Western Joshua Tree Draft Conservation Plan. The Draft Conservation Plan is publicly available on the Commission's website. Comment may be made in person via Zoom or by telephone. See this story at Z107.7fm.com for a link to the Commission's website where you will find the Draft Conservation Plan in its entirety, as well as the full meeting agenda and instructions on how to view the live stream or participate remotely. Last night, the Morongo Unified School District Board of Directors held their regular meeting. Reporter Gabriel Hart was in attendance and joins us with this recap.
The meeting began by honoring Deputy Coakley and Deputy Camacho with certificates of appreciation for their continued presence on MUSD campuses, while, quote, fostering a sense of security and trust, as praised by President Clare. For the legislative report, Board Member Carolee Hargrove discussed some recently introduced bills to the State House. These included education finance, proposing a 0% interest emergency loan for districts in financial crisis, AB 65, offering paid disability and parental leave to support families during critical life events, and AB 68, an armed school resource officers bill, addressing school safety with the presence of armed officers. Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services Amy Woods discussed Monday's comprehensive multi-agency disaster drill conducted in Joshua Tree National Park, featuring coordinated efforts from fire engines, ambulances, and helicopters in a disaster simulation involving multiple vehicles and a school bus filled with MUSD students posing as accident victims. Woods presented slideshow photos of students covered in fake blood and simulated deep wounds, stating, quote, "This event provided invaluable up-close career observation for our students, and it was the very best example of a community classroom situation," unquote. The board engaged in a substantial budget discourse for the board purchase order report, which contained a $490,000 fee for an upcoming week-long contracted service for ELOP. President Clare and Hargrove stated they felt the exorbitant fee appeared a case of budget opportunism from the contractor, and while the rest of the board admitted experiencing, quote, sticker shock, the motion passed 3-2. The board voted 5-0 to approve new members for the Bond Measure C Oversight Committee, including former trustee John Cole, Jeff Brady, Jennifer Cusack, Paul Hoffman, Daniel Ineguez, Brian Sullivan, and Rebecca Wahlberg. Reporting for Z107.7, this is Gabriel Hart.
Almost every single one of the Morongo Basin's emergency response agencies continue their participation in the mass casualty incident drill inside of Joshua Tree National Park today and Saturday. Expect a lot of emergency equipment moving in and out of the national park, including fire engines, ambulances, heavy rescue equipment, and helicopters. The Yucca Valley Airport District meets in regular session today to welcome newly appointed Board Director Robert Miel. Wednesday's meeting will be mostly focused on budgeting and finances. Tonight's meeting is open to the public and begins at 6:30 p.m. at the Yucca Valley Community Center. And finally, you can prepare for the wet season by visiting the San Bernardino County Office of Emergency Services Community Resource Booth in Yucca Valley tomorrow from 2 to 6 p.m. at the San Bernardino County Fire Office. There will be free supplies available that can help you stay safe during flash floods and other weather events. N95 masks, gloves, trash bags, pop-up lantern and blankets, and hand warmers will all be available on a first-come, first-served basis. The San Bernardino County Fire Office is located at 6942 Airway Avenue, Suite A in Yucca Valley. That's our local news. Hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. If you hear about news happening, let us know. Email us at tips@z1077fm.com. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z1077 Local News, I'm Jeff Harmetz.